Hello and welcome back to our studio. This is a little introduction to start a little piece of video that was a live stream I did on Facebook a couple of nights ago, which explored the problems of putting on too much of this, some Bob Ross liquid white, and I did a side-by-side comparison, too much, just right, just to show you how things can kind of get away from you a little bit. So the introduction that I filmed on the night has been kind of cropped and I didn't get that, so this is just a little simple intro to it. I hope you find it useful. Watch it right to the end. There are some little tips and tricks and things that come along, and if you find this useful, like, subscribe, share this. It'll help someone else who may be struggling a little bit with getting started with their Bob Ross paints and liquid white. Anyway, roll the video, have fun, bye. So let's test the just right side. So index, middle, ring and pinky. Now then, it's still a little bit shiny, but this time I can actually see my fingerprints. I can see all the little ridges and I can see all the little gaps between. Try and get my camera to focus on it. And there's a big difference between too wet and too dry. If I hold my fingers up, this one's too wet and this one's just right. Can you see the difference on those two? It's subtle, but it'll make a huge difference. So let's see what happens when I start trying to paint on these two. So I've got the two brushes, my just right brush and my, let's take away the evidence. I used to have a family member who worked in a fingerprint, as she was a fingerprint specialist at Scotland Yard, and for years nobody would take a drink from a wine glass just in case. just joshing. Okay, so here's my palette. I have titanium white, phthalo blue, some midnight black and sap green, and some cadmium yellow. This is going to be a very, very simple little painting here tonight. I'm going to pop that to one side because before I start painting, I'm going to dry clean my brushes. And that really just means Bob would just wash it and beat it on the leg of an easel. I can't afford to do that. The dry cleaning bills are killing me. But I'm just going to literally twirl it on some paper towel and dry clean it. I just want to knock out some surplus liquid white. And I'll do the same with the other brush so it's even Steven. So I'm just going to give it a wipe over, give it a twirl, and knock out some liquid white. So the brushes should be even. Okay, which one's first then? Hi Pam, nice to see you. Pam's a really lovely painter. She's up there in good old Birmingham direction. So which one should I go for? Too much or just right? I'm going to do the too much side. Okay, so I got my too much brush. I'm going to go into the phthalo blue here. And what I'm doing is I'm kind of aiming for my thumb. Whenever you put paint on a palette, aim for your thumb so you don't paint under another colour here. So I'm just going to pull down some colour and do what Bob does. Just going to tap my brush. I should have put it on my plastic pad, didn't I? Put it on my soft palette. Okay, and just like Bob, I'm going to start in the corners, and I'm going to start with some little crisscrosses here. I'm going to crisscross this across my sky. And I hope this kind of fades from dark to pale. So let's zoom this out a little bit now. There we go. Okay, try and get the words in at the top. There we go. Okay. And this is blending really nice. So I'm getting a good fade here from dark blue to pale blue. So far, so good. It doesn't look too bad. If I just brush that out, yeah, it looks reasonable. So, no clues yet as to where the problems are going to be. So that one worked okay. Therefore, this canvas must be okay to paint on. Let's put some phthalo blue on the other side. Just a little. I used a little bit more on that side just to make it work. And I'm using half the amount of blue this side. And I can get it to be exactly the same strength with almost half the amount of blue. And look what's happening. My canvas is starting to fade that much quicker. That's with half the amount of blue. Add a little more to my brush. If I add a little more, I can go back up into these top corners again. And this is just a quick and easy little sky. I like to leave some of the blotchy areas in here. Just blend this out. Blend it down. But so far, so good. Can't see too many problems with what we're doing here. So painting a sky, that's easy. Blend that out. So that brush and that brush. So adding too much liquid white doesn't affect the color of your sky too much, okay? So we agreed on that one. The problem comes when you want to start adding clouds, okay? So I'm going to just add a little fluffy cloud right in here on my canvas. I'm going to use one of my fan brushes. So here we go, straight into some firm titanium white. Hello, Michael. Hi there from Australia. Wow. Good evening. It's funny, when we went to America a few years ago and we were walking around in Boston, everyone kept saying to us, wow, you're all the way from Australia. I said, well, we're not Australians, we're English. And they went, no, you talk like an Australian. Okay, so I'm loading a good amount of titanium white paint on my fan brush. And I want to know that you're going to have to get plenty of paint on there. Okay, so let's paint a little cloud. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to lead my way across the canvas with my brush handle. So I'm painting my cloud from left to right. Brushes like to be led, they don't like to be pushed. So let's try and get a little white fluffy cloud on my canvas. Now, the problem I'm having here is that it doesn't really stand out. It actually looks better on screen than it actually does in real life. In real life, this is very, very dull. This little white fluffy cloud actually looks more like a blue cloud. Let's add a little bit more paint. So where I wanted this to be a real Bobby Dazzler of a cloud, let me add a little bit more colour to my brush. And it doesn't really matter how much more paint I try and pile on here. In fact, the more I try and add paint to this, the more blue I'm picking up. And the harder it is to get this colour to stick, because the pale blue colour from underneath is bleeding through all the time. There's too much liquid white on this painting, on this part of my canvas, and it doesn't really matter how much white I pile onto here, I will never get a nice white fluffy cloud. It will always be this kind of pale blue grey colour. It will just never work, and it doesn't matter how hard I try. I'm just going to get rid of that really blue corner there. So there was my first problem, is that it doesn't matter how much paint I use. My canvas this side is just giving up all the blue colour. It's just pouring out because the liquid white makes it so wet and sticky I can't actually get a cloud to stick. So let's see if I can get a little fluffy cloud to sit on this side. So I'm going to go back in with a fresh fan brush. The same amount of paint. I'm going to load both sides. Okay. And again, I'm going to try and paint a nice little white fluffy cloud here. And again, I'm going to just lead my way across the canvas. And this time, wow, instantly better. My paint sticks nicely. I don't have to push very hard. My paint just wants to grab onto that canvas, and I can leave a little bright fluffy cloud. Exactly the same technique I'm doing. Letter C. Remember C for cloud? Letter C. So I can paint big white fluffy clouds, and they pop, they stand out from the background. This one's always going to be that little dull cloud, but these ones, they really shine. Remember, clouds are a little bit like people sometimes. We want bubbly personalities on top and a flat behind. That wasn't my joke, that was someone else's joke. So you can see instantly this one is looking very dull, and this one is looking lovely and bright and really it sort of shines from the canvas. And this is before I even do any blending work on it, so imagine what's going to happen to this one when I blend it. Let me see if I can blend it now. So let me put that down, and I'm going to pick up my 1-inch brush, and I'm going to wipe off some of the blue color that I got on here, and I'm going to try blending this cloud. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to blend from the base up into the cloud, and I'm going to blend up and down to soften this up because I want this cloud to look really like it's part of the canvas. So when you blend a cloud, you want to use just a few hairs, just this half a dozen little hairs here, and that's the ones you want to use. And you want to get your brush so that you kind of got your hand over the top. I'm going to keep it to one side so you can see, but kind of angle the brush forwards a little bit. And all I'm doing here is I'm just literally stirring my cloud. I want to try and blend this and make it look nice and smooth. And I'm not touching the top of my cloud. I'm just literally going up and down in the center of my cloud. And even after just a couple of seconds, well, it's really starting to look more and more sad, really, isn't it? It's kind of looking more and more dull. I don't even think I'm going to bother trying to finish blending that one. So let's see how the other one goes. I'm going to dry clean my brush. Okay, Ryan, yeah, the same issue happened with exactly the first two paintings you did. It's kind of very common. You wouldn't be alone there, Ryan. Hands up those who did it. Yay, I did it, I did it. Just about everybody will make this mistake at some time, and you'll rush into a painting and you'll start painting away. Then about 10 minutes in you'll go, whoops, something's not working here, and I guarantee you that 9 times out of 10 it's the liquid white. So here's my other cloud, and I've dry cleaned my brush, get rid of some of that blue color, and here I'm just going to do a light, I'm trying to get my hand out of the way here so you can see. I'm going to again use just the very, very top edge of my brush, and I'm just going to tickle that little cloud. I'm just going kind of circulating up and down. I just want to knock off some of the heavy, heavy paint. And I want to create a little bit of a shadow line at the base here. So just the very, very bottom of my cloud. I'm just going to blend that out. And knock off that surplus paint. Okay, so my little cloud here, you can see it really pops. It stands out from the background sky. And the blue colors in the background are very similar. This was too wet and that one's too dry. And to finish off my little cloud, I'm just going to use the brush with 2 hairs and some air, Bob always says. And I'm just going to literally glance across this. I'm going to literally, if you imagine a little aeroplane, it's going to kind of touch down and just skim across the surface. So I just want to take off any lumps and bumps and just pull any of that paint into the center of my cloud. And then a couple of strokes to lay the paint flat, barely touching. Dare I do that on this one? Let's have a go. Let's see what happens. So again, it's the weight of the brush. Literally, there's no pressure on this brush. I'm just trying to pull in the edges of my cloud. So any thick paint that's on the edges, they're just kind of being rolled back into the center. And literally, I'm barely touching this. It's like 2 hairs and some air. And let's have a go at brushing across. And So here we see the problem. The cloud is literally disappearing. This one has still got some texture to it. The cloud actually stands out. So liquid white, that caused my problems. This one was okay. So let's move on here. Let's see what happens when we try and paint a tree on this one and a tree on that one. And I'm going to paint a fir tree because it's what Bob was known for. And I'm going to use this brush, the same brush I did the clouds with. So just to make it fair, I'm going to wipe this clean. Get rid of all the surplus paint. I don't need to wash it in thinners. I'll do the same with the other one here. Taking off all the surplus paint. Why do I never have a rubbish bag? Every time I set up, I normally have like a little bin or something off to the side here, and I sit down without a bag. Never mind. Okay, so for my tree, I'm going to use myself some sap green and a little bit of the midnight black colour, and I'm just going to brush mix this. I'm going to use the black and green together on the fan brush, mainly green, little black. I could use a palette knife at this stage, I guess. This looks very dark green. That's okay. Ooh, I think I got a runny yellow there. It's making a break for it. Funny story about runny yellow paint. Years and years and years ago, my wife Terry and I, we were doing a craft show, one of these, an outdoor event on a marquee, midsummer, and for once we had a blistering hot summer in the UK. It was, and you're probably laughing there, Michael, out in Australia, but we do have hot summers, you know. It does, just occasionally the sun comes out here in Blighty, and it was blisteringly hot, and I had a full palette of colour, had everything, the whole lot, and I was standing there, sweat dripping off me, doing a demonstration. And what I didn't realise is, I was holding the palette up, my cad yellow was making a break for freedom, and it was going down the palette, and I didn't see it, but it went off the edge of the palette, and it stuck to my arm, and it went all the way down the back of my arm and down into my t-shirt, and I still didn't see this yellow paint go, and everybody in the crowd was watching, and I thought they were watching me because they were excited to see me paint. They just wanted to see how far the yellow would travel. Well, it made it all the way to my armpit. So for the rest of the day, I was bright yellow. I can hear you all laughing out there. Okay, so I've loaded my brush fully with some sap green and some black, and I'm going to paint a little fir tree in here. And we know fir trees, need to know how big they are, so I'm going to start with the top, and I'm going to just dab and drop in a little centre line for my fir tree, because if you don't know how tall they are, how are you going to know to stop? Okay. Now Bob paints fir trees, and he does like a little helter-skelter shape. You start small and he grows big. Absolutely fine. I love that technique, but sometimes we can run out of position. So whilst I'm demonstrating the challenges of liquid white, I might as well show you a fir tree. And one of the easy ways of doing it now, the corner of your fan brush there's got a lovely V shape to it. Let me zero in on this a little bit more. Yeah, that's it. All this fancy technology here, let's use it. Okay, so you've got a nice little corner in your fan brush there, and you want to use that corner to do the first branches on your tree. So just touch with the corner of your fan brush, and it kind of creates like a little umbrella shape across the middle of your tree. And I'm going to carry on creating little umbrella shapes, and I just want to shut up and let you listen for a moment. Can you hear that kind of scratching sound? That's the sound you want to hear. It tells me you're actually generating a little bit of texture on the canvas here, and you're not brushing with the brush. And all I've done is I've created a very, very nice dark column of colour. And to finish off my tree, I've just got to give him some arms. So I've got a trunk in, I've got a body, but I've got no arms. Reload my brush with some colour here. And because you know you've got a nice deep centre to it, you can use the same corner and then you can just do some little outward strokes. And just have fun with this. I was sharing a couple of comments with people recently about the best way to paint fir trees, and the best tip I was given was by one of the more senior instructors from the Bob Ross company, who said, Paul, he said, paint them like you don't care. He said, just throw them up. He said, the more you kind of worry about them, the worse they get. And he was right. He used to make painting trees effortless, and I used to say, Darryl, I said, I just don't know how you can do it. He just said, I don't care. He said, I just throw them up, and however they come out is however they come out. And that's what I just did. I didn't pay any mind to it. I just threw it on the canvas and didn't think too much. Move that junk out of the way. Put the brushes in position here. So one easy canvas, one easy tree there. I just painted the center column first. Let's give him a friend, but over on the other side. Again, this looks pretty good to my eye. It looks fine. I can't see where the issue would be with this. So let's paint another one. So I got my other fan brush, black, some green, and let's hit another little tree. And you can see I spend a lot of time loading colour. And that's a clue there. If you're struggling painting fir trees, you've got to load a lot of paint. And I'm just doing one corner, folks. Let's put that out of the way. And let's drop in a little fir tree here. Got to be careful there. My fir tree looks like it could be holding my cloud up. Shall I paint through the cloud? Yeah. I'm brave. I don't mind doing these things for you. Okay. I'm going to reload my brush. Even just dabbing on the center line, I've taken away some paint. So I'm going to reload my brush backwards and forwards. Hi Kelly from New Zealand. My goodness. Wowee. Look at me, Ma. I'm painting for the world. So again, I'm painting on the corner of my fan brush here. You notice I don't do this business backwards and forwards with my brush. I stay on one corner. So let's get that one corner. And again, I'm just going to touch, and I'm going to make myself looks like a little kind of umbrella shape. Looks like a dead bird to me actually, but I'm just tapping with the corner of the fan brush here, and I'm just making little umbrella shapes. And again, I'll let you listen. Again, a nice deep column, dark colour. Now it's quite subtle, but this one actually looks a little more yellow-green, quite pale, and this one looks really nice and dark. And that's going to be very useful. So there's my column of colour. Now you can paint fir trees. You can paint a bunch of fir trees and do them one at a time, or you can just do all the columns first. But now I'm going to do what I said. I'm just going to throw a few little arms on this fir tree. And you notice again I'm staying just on the one corner. As I want bigger branches, I'll press a little harder. And I'm just going to bend the bristles down. So I'm just pressing with the brush, not letting the brush skid. And keep them irregular. Okay. Can you hear that nice crunchy sound I'm making? Okay, that sound. Okay. Now there is a temptation now, and this is my failing, is to go back and neaten this all up. And I can't tell you that it just doesn't make a good tree. Look like someone's been at it with a strimmer. Okay, so have fun with your trees. Don't neaten and tidy them up. Make them look good. So they still look okay. So too much, just right with my liquid white. Let me so you can see the legend a little bit more. There we go. So let's clean this brush and see how we get on with a highlight. So I've got myself. some cadmium yellow here. Just like before, I'm going to put on quite a good amount of cadmium yellow. I've got a little bit of that green color on my brush, but that's okay. So I got a nice soft yellow color. And let's see if I can get some highlights to stick to my canvas. Well, I got a start of a highlight there. But oh dear. Some of it's sticking, some of it looks okay. It looks a lot brighter on the screen, but in reality it looks a little bit like this cloud. It looks almost kind of dull, and you can see the color really doesn't stand out too much. And if I want to fool with this again, what happens is that because the dark color underneath was a little bit thinned out by the amount of liquid white, it means my highlight colors are starting to sink in a little bit. So I haven't got a lot of playtime with this, and my colors have definitely gone off. So let's work with the other fan brush. Get rid of some of the green color. And let's see how my highlights work on the other one. So load up. I've got a nice amount of cadmium yellow here again. It's got a little bit of green in it now because it came from here. Okay. Let's see if I can get some nice sharp highlights. So I'm going to highlight the right hand side of my tree, and again it's just touching here. My brush over. I don't know if you can see that, but my highlights, they look an awful lot sharper and an awful lot nicer and brighter on the right than they do on the left. Ones on the left are looking very sad and kind of overdone. And these ones are sitting up just nice. So highlighter on the right is a little stronger, a little less through the center, and dark shadow on the left. Now you can see when you look at these two now, this one started to look a little bit kind of blotchy, a little bit kind of overly full, and this one here is looking a lot sharper. So this message is popping in from all over the place. Paint a third tree, Pam. I think I did paint a third tree. Thank you. Okay, Victoria, nice to see you as well. So this one here, it's acceptable. It's an okay fir tree, but this one is a lot sharper and a lot nicer. It's got a little bit more vibrance to it. And I'm not sure if I can get my camera to zoom in a little bit more on this one. This one looks okay. It's not a bad fir tree. But this one here really stands out. It really pops. It's a bit like the cloud at the top. This cloud stands out, and this tree really kind of leaps off the canvas. This one looks a bit sad. Okay, so again, the liquid white, it kind of got into the dark underpaint color, and it kind of ruined it a little bit. So shall I paint some bushes in here? Maybe I should put some little bushes in. Let me go grab another brush. Okay, let's grab another little brush here. I got another 1-inch brush, another spare one. I'm having too much fun doing this. So painting bushes. This brush is as old as the hills. God, this brush is old as dirt. I think I had this brush when I was born. Look at that. Boy, that's seen some action. That looks like my hairstyle. It's a bit threadbare, but it's okay. It'll work for us. I keep my old brushes and I paint them with a black hoop. It lets me know that they're really old brushes. And I keep my nice brushes. They don't have a hoop on them. They just have a white handle. So I'm going to go through my dark color here with my 1-inch brush, and there's a little fold here. You can see there's like a metal fold in the brush, and I pull that towards me. Okay, and I do that every time I load a brush. I pull it towards me and I give it a little push. Okay, and I look at the end of my brush and I see what condition it's in. Hi there, Crystal. Very nice to meet you this evening. And I give the brush a little push. Give it a little push, like that. And you can see the shape of my brush. Can I get that on the screen there? I'm bending the brush and I'm pushing it and I'm causing the bristles to bend a little. Okay? When I come to do this with the highlight, I'm going to be a lot more gentle with it. So press it, bend it, and that where you're opening up the brush. Now I want to put that little fold now towards the top of the bushes. So I pull it towards me, and then for the bushes I flip it round and I have that facing to the top and touch and do a little press. And nickname these things turkey bushes because they, imagine those sort of prairie turkeys, they've got these big sort of turkey tails. And you see I made just one bush shape there. The brush didn't skid. And there is another bush. Should I give it a friend? Another one in the middle? A bit crowded here, but that's okay. Now, I'm having to work kind of hard here to make these stick. And they look kind of mushy to me, and they look a little transparent and a little bit see-through. And I want my bushes to be dark and full of strong colour. So I'm going to reload my brush. Same way, pull it towards me. Boy, I should have used my I've got an acrylic palette, and I've got my soft palette here. I'm going on the wrong palette. Whoop, there we go. I'm going to just press. And always make sure you kind of splay your brush a little bit. You can be tough with the underpaint. You've got to be more delicate with the highlights. So that's a little bit slushy. Now let's see how this looks. Well, this is a different ball game altogether. That colour really sticks and it really stands out. This side, no matter how careful I was, these started to skid. You can see it looks kind of nice and spiky, that side. Pull again. And I'm going to do another little bush. And this side feels just that much nicer. I can get my paint to really stick on there and really make a lovely spiky shape. And maybe a third one, just in case you thought it was a fluke. I do that occasionally, I get lucky. I heard a golfer, a very famous golfer, his name was Gary Player, I think it was, and he was being asked by a commentator at a golf tournament about how much practice he did. And he said, you know something, the more I practice, the luckier I get as a golfer. And there's kind of a joke in there really, that sometimes if you just practice you get lucky as well. So, okay. So I'm going to dry clean my too much brush. Okay, this is my too much side, too much liquid white. So my tree, a little mushy, my cloud, a little bit disappearing. My bushes here, a little bit, not so good. And I've got my sky brush back. And again, I'm going to load my brush and I'm going to pull it through the paint one direction. See that they've got the little fold on the brush? Okay, I'm going to have that fold coming towards me. But this time I'm going to be more gentle with my brush. With the dark color, I was kind of heavy-handed. With highlights, you've got to be gentle. Really gentle. And if I show you the end of my brush, get that in focus if I can you see what it looks like? It should be open and lacy. Okay, you shouldn't see a big old chunk of paint in the middle there, because that's exactly what it will do for you. Okay, so before you even touch your canvas, look at the end of your brush, because that's what it's going to do. And I'm not sure if you can see this from the side. Get that against something dark, but if I try and get that against the background, every bristle there has got a little passenger riding on it. It's a little tiny pinpoint of paint just sitting up. And I kind of liken the brush to being like a bus, and all the little dots of paint like passengers. And I'm going to have to drop them here at the bus stop. So the idea is you want to drop your passengers off, but you don't want to crash the bus. So here we go. I've got the little fold to the top now. And let's see if I can get any of these highlights to actually stick. Well, I can make them just about stick. just about, but they don't really stand out. And I'm being super gentle with this. I think I could make this paint stick to an ice cube if I needed to, but again, just check it. Well, that's bush number 2, and it looks kind of okay, but it doesn't really stand out. It's not really doing it for me in terms of color. Now, if I try and improve on these, most people would just say, give it another coat, give it another color. So let's put a little bit more color on my brush. Okay, so I added some more color. It still looks okay. And let's go back over this again. Okay, so I'll try giving it a little bit more color, and it's starting to improve. I'm being very, very gentle with this. I'm barely touching on this canvas. Let me try and get my hand to the side here. I am barely touching this canvas, but the problem is my bushes are starting to become kind of muddy looking, and the more I kind of touch them, the more I start mixing mud. And I can't see 3 bushes here. I just see kind of a big hedge of kind of yuck. So again, my canvas is so wet, I'm having trouble getting the color to stick. So let's have a go on the other side with this brush. So this is my side, which has got just the right amount of liquid white on it. Okay, so you can see my color looks a little deeper. And again, folded side, take it through that color. Give it a little push, be gentle with it, and have a look at the end of the brush. Now you can see that there's a couple of big chunky bits on there, but the brush is still fairly open. Now give it a little push it gently, and look at the surface of my palette. It looks like Artex, doesn't it? Those stuff we used to put on the ceilings back in the 70s. Well, I want to see Artex on my brush. You see I still got a chunk on there. If I try and use that, I'm going to get that big chunky monkey on my painting. I just pressed it on the palette there and I got rid of it. So let's see if I can highlight these little bushes any better. Yeah, that comes off a little bit easier. Top up a little bit. A little bit more paint. Go. Wow, see how much that one pops. It really stands out. I wish my camera were a better camera. And that little bush stands out just lovely too. And I don't have to go back over these. These ones are standing out really nicely. And if you compare it to these ones, you see they look kind of mushy. All the lovely dark areas in this bush survived just right. So what should we do next? Should I try and turn this into a reflection and this into a reflection? Then we'll see how well our reflections look. So I'm going to, what should I do? I'm going to get my 1-inch brush. I'm going to just dry clean it. And I'm just going to drag some colour down and see how they look. Dry. Okay, so I'm going to just grab some of this colour here and I'm going to just drag down, try and make a nice reflection. I'm just grabbing some of that colour, grab and pull. See, I left a little bit of dark at the base of those bushes there. That was lucky, wasn't it? Or have I been practicing? Am I like Gary Player? The more I practice, the luckier I get. So I pull down, get a little reflection going there. And when we go across, how many times do we go across? Answers on a postcard. Hi Steve, good. I saw some of your paintings earlier on, Steve. You're doing really good. Are you the Steve Good that's beating yourself up over giving a painting away for a present? Are you the same Steve Good? You might be. So I've dragged this down here and I've kind of got enough colour to come down here. And I'm going to just brush across just once. And Bob says just, you know, 2 hairs and some air. Well, I've got 2 hairs left on my head, and I'm going to just go across here. And I'm barely touching, folks. I am literally just about touching this. Super gentle. I can't press any more gently or else it'll just all disappear. And I kind of still kept my reflections, but they really lack something, don't I? They really just don't pop. Now, the temptation is to go over these a second time. Hands up those who've done twice across a reflection. Come on, I can see those hands creeping up. Hi Craig, good evening there. So how many times have you painted across the reflections more than once? Me, my hand's up, I've done it. So what happens if I go over this again? On my too much liquid white side. Well, you can see what's starting to happen here. This is starting to look less like a reflection and more like a muddy cloud. Okay, so this is a problem here. Again, too much liquid white is causing me some hassles here. All my reflections are looking more like a cloud. Let me do the ultimate sin and do it a third time. And now, well, now all I've got is dirty water. I don't really have a reflection at all. So I've overdone that. I know I have. But just to show you that even going really super gentle on this, I turned it into looks like a muddy puddle. So let's see what happens on the other side here. So I've got my brush set up, ready to go. Let's try clean it. Oh. I hope you're enjoying watching these little demonstrations. You haven't done reflections yet. Hi, Crystal. But plan on giving it a try. Give it a try, Crystal. Reflections aren't that hard. They really aren't. The trick is not to brush across them too many times. I overdid it here, and kind of to sort of show you the effect. I'm just going back over it too many times. I'm just going to dry clean my 1-inch brush here. I'm going to do the reflections on the other side here. But if you enjoy watching these little demonstrations, these little how-tos, I'm happy to carry on doing them for you. I did 2 or 3 last year, and I tried to stream them on YouTube and on Facebook, and boy, I got myself into a tangle. So again, I've dry cleaned my brush, and again, I'm going to just grab a little bit of this dark color, and let's see what our reflections look like this time. Now, instantly you can see I got a much stronger color to play with. A little dark bush there really stands out. So straight away my colours look more natural, they're stronger. I can pull this dark tree, I can actually make this dark, and I can pull it much, much further. On this one, my colour would peter out really too soon. Okay, so this is on my just right liquid white side. And I can then, again, just as before, I can brush across. Very gentle. Edge to center, folks. Always edges to centers. And I can get these really nice ripply effects on here. Let me see if I can zoom in a little bit on this for you. I get some really nice ripply effects. See those ripples? Yeah, you can see those ripples. Oh, you're going to get some linseed oil to make some liquid white. Yeah. Have you seen the price of liquid white? I fell off my chair. I've got a pot here of liquid white that's about nearly 3/4 used up, and I bet somebody would offer me 50 quid for this. Is that obscene? I don't think I've ever seen price gouging like this in my life. People are just profiteering off it, which is absolutely horrendous. Incidentally, if you do want one of these, I've got one for 60 quid. No, I'm kidding. Hi Deborah, good evening to you, nice to see you. You haven't started painting yet. Hope to pluck up the courage and have a go soon. Well, hey, if I can sit here fooling around on a canvas, I'm sure you can sit in the privacy of your home and have a go. I'll watch you through the window. So, as you see, I managed to get some nice ripples across this one. Ripples I didn't get on this one, and in fact this is dry enough actually I can even do a little bit more with that. I can actually do some little ripples this way as well. Ooh, look at that. So this is the canvas, the side of my canvas, which has got just about the right amount of liquid white on it, whereas the other side didn't. Just in case you're just joining us here, this is what happens when you get too much liquid white as opposed to just about right. Okay, let me get my camera working right here. So this is too much, this is just right. This cloud disappears into the blue, this cloud pops out. This tree looks a little bit wishy-washy. This tree really stands out. These bushes look kind of, again, a bit muddy. These bushes really pop. Okay, I can do fun ripples on here. On this side, I just make muddy water. So what else can I add into my painting? I can put some water lines into here. Let me grab a palette knife. Okay, I grab a palette knife. I didn't have one out. Okay, now if you do have a bit of a lack for the liquid white, you can actually use a little bit of titanium white, and all I do is I just rub my knife into the paint. I just literally, and it doesn't have to be pure white, just a little bit of grubby white will do. And just remember folks, keep them level. Okay, and you want to just touch and press and slide. Is that level? Gosh, it looks like it's going uphill. Let me get my head over the top of this. I'm trying to film this round a camera. I'm going to blame my equipment here, folks. Okay. Let's rub that one out. That looks a little better. I think my camera's just cockeyed. I'm going to call that straight and level in my world. And under here and push and slide. Oh dear. So this one stands out really nice. Why won't that one work? Let's have another go. Okay, so my water lines are looking a bit lackluster again, aren't they? And you know what the problem here is, don't you? Too much liquid white again. It's come to get me back one more time. I'm having trouble getting my water lines to stick. This side, my water lines stick just perfect. So I think that's it. I'm coming up on my hour of gassing and showing off and playing around with my paintings. But I hope you found this useful. Don't forget, have you got paper on your palette? Yes, I have. Yes, I have. This is a paper on my palette. If you go into an art shop and they do disposable palettes, you can buy them. They come on a little pad, and they're usually about £8 or £10 for a little pad, and they've usually got a stupid hole in there which you kind of supposed to put your thumb through like and pretend to be a real artist. And hold a second, I'm going to show you, you lovely people. Let me just grab this and run to the giant art room. This is the same stuff. Reynolds freezer paper, 13 1/3 yards. That's what it was in old money when I was born. 4.64 meters, and it's that wide. You have got about 60 pallets on here for about £4, and it comes on a roll. And you cut off what you want, and you do what I do. You get a kiddie serving mat or a piece of plastic or something, and you bung it on there, and you've got yourself a palette for pennies. Okay, and if you want to keep the paint good overnight, put some cling film over this. I think they call it saran wrap in other parts of the world, and you can just pinch the plastic over the top of it, just pinch it down so the air can't get to it, and just throw the whole thing in the freezer, and that way your paint will stay good. Okay, so excellent. I've done an excellent tie. Not a bad tree. Okay, let me have a look. Ryan said, did he a finger test when he Tap 4 fingers at 4 spots on the canvas. I saw they were drenched or just enough to see the thing. Okay, right. Let me do that bit again for you. It's got paint on it now, but what I did is before I even started my painting, I used a different finger in a different part of my painting. So I got kind of like 4 samples from my painting. I know they're blue this time. They should be white, obviously. But you can see on there, my fingerprints are nowhere to be seen, folks. My fingerprints are just not there. This canvas is way too wet. And the paint that I'm putting on here, it feels very sticky and wet. And I'm kind of not a beginner. I'm not a novice painter. I was a Bob Ross instructor now for the past 20 odd years. So I can pretty much paint on nearly anything, give or take. But only because I practiced a ton. And even I was struggling to make my paint stick to this. This side, I just touch gently. And I hope you can see the difference there. Just about. I can actually see the ridges in my fingerprints. I can actually see the little bit of skin between my fingerprints. This is just about perfect. And when I touched it, it felt nice and tacky, but it didn't feel wet. It didn't feel sticky. It didn't feel slimy. It had just about the right amount of liquid white on there. And it meant everything I added on top of it came out looking good. So I had just about the right amount of liquid white on the right and too much liquid white on the left. Okay, I think I've just about worn myself out tonight. I hope you found this useful. Bit of self-promotion on this one. I have a YouTube channel. There's some nice freebie videos onto there. Getting started with Oz. I make my own canvases here to practice on. This is one of my own practice canvases. To save yourself a few pennies, you can use wallpaper to do this. This is lining paper I'm painting on here. Go and have a look. Getting started with oils on the Paul Ranson art channel on YouTube. You'll see there are links to it in some of the comments I leave on the Facebook page. But go there, have a little look. You'll save yourself some pennies on getting started with your paintings, which is what this is all about, helping you get going and hopefully to save yourselves a few pounds in the process while you're starting to learn. Because boy, once you get a few of these canvases piled up around the room so you can't see the carpet anymore, you know you've done a lot of painting. So let me just kind of spin this round. Okay, I'm back. God, what an ugly sight. Right, well, so I hope you've enjoyed tonight. I really enjoyed painting for you, and I hope you've learned little bits and pieces from this. If you like, I'll come back in a couple of weeks' time and try and show you some more stuff. I did a little seascape about 4 or 5 weeks ago that seemed to go down quite well with all you nice people. So maybe I'll throw a little seascape onto a canvas there. Hi Kelly again. This has been awesome. I've never been called awesome before. I've been called a few other rude words, but awesome, I'll take it. Thank you, Kelly. Maybe I'll have a go at throwing together a little seascape. I can't promise I'll do anything quite as adventurous as what I'm doing over there. I'm in the process of painting a horse right now. Yep. So I kind of have a go a lot of different things. But I hope you've enjoyed this evening. I'm going to have a well-deserved cup of tea now. My vocal cords are just about shot for today. So, but thank you very much, everybody. Pam and Victoria and Crystal and you, Steve, and you lovely people from the other side of the world. Where are you now? I've lost you. You've gone off the edge. Ryan. Oh, it's been lovely seeing all of you, or you've been seeing me. But I hope you've enjoyed tonight. Remember, not too much on the liquid white. You know how much it's worth. It's worth a fortune. But good luck. Happy painting, people. I'm going to sign off. Mwah to you all.